My name's Travis. I've spent the last 10 years behind the wheel of a big rig, hauling freight across the country. I've seen every weather system and every kind of person you could imagine, but nothing, not ice-covered highways or mountain passes. Prepare me for what I saw on a stretch of desert road just east of Tucson. They call it mile marker 86. It was early September, and I had a late-night run carrying HVAC equipment from Phoenix to El Paso. I've always preferred night drives, less traffic, fewer distractions, and a strange sense of peace that settles over the highway after midnight. Around 1:30 a.m., I was deep into the Arizona desert, cruising east on State Route 86. It's one of those stretches where you can go a full hour without seeing another vehicle. The land is flat and barren, dotted with cactus and low brush, with mountains silhouetted in the distance. That night, the sky was moonless, just the stars and the steady hum of my wheels on asphalt. My GPS chirped, "Continue for 47 miles." I glanced at the screen. Nothing but a straight line. The only point of reference was a small grade labeled mile marker 86. About 10 minutes after seeing the GPS update, I passed an old, weather-worn sign on the right side of the road. It said simply, mile marker 86. But something about it gave me pause. It was tilted at a strange angle, as if something had hit it recently. And behind it, partially buried in the sand, I thought I saw what looked like a piece of rusted metal, maybe part of a vehicle frame. I slowed down, not enough to stop, but enough to take a better look. There was definitely debris in the sand, a glint of something reflective. But before I could register more, a movement in my rear-view mirror caught my eye. Headlights, a pair of them. They blinked on out of nowhere, about 100 yards behind me. I hadn't passed a car for almost an hour. Where the hell had that come from? The lights got brighter, closer. Within a minute, they were tailgating me. I checked my mirrors. It looked like an old muscle car, black, maybe a Dodge Charger, riding my bumper like we were drag racing. I tapped the brakes lightly. The car didn't slow down. Instead, it veered slightly left, as if trying to pass, then swerved back behind me. "Asshole," I muttered, flipping off the rearview mirror so I wouldn't be blinded. That's when my CB crackled to life. It wasn't a voice at first, just static, then what sounded like a faint whisper. I leaned closer. Don't stop at 86. Keep driving. The voice faded, then silence. I grabbed the mic. "This is truck 2283. Anyone else out here hearing that?" No reply. I repeated the call. Nothing but dead air. When I looked back in the mirror, the Charger was gone. I slammed the brakes. Nothing but open road behind me. No turnoffs, no tracks in the sand. Just gone. I stayed parked for a solid 5 minutes, engine idling, try and make sense of what I'd just seen. Then, up ahead, my headlights caught something else, a figure walking along the shoulder of the road. I rolled forward slowly. The figure was male, tall, wearing what looked like a tattered flannel shirt and jeans. No reflective gear, no flashlight, just walking in the pitch dark like he had nowhere to go. As I approached, I rolled down the passenger window. "You all right?" I called out. He stopped walking, but didn't look at me, just stood there. I leaned farther out. "Hey, buddy, you need help?" Still no answer. Then slowly he turned his head. I swear to God, his eyes didn't reflect the light. Not like normal eyes do. They were just black, empty. Then he smiled. It was wide, far too wide. His lips pulled back like they were stretching his skin. I gunned it, drove 15 miles before I even looked back. But I made one crucial mistake. I glanced at the odometer. 15 miles exactly. And yet my GPS still read Mile marker 86. I try to shake the image of that man's face, those pitch-black eyes, that unnatural smile, but it stayed with me like an afterimage burned into my vision. I turned off the radio, turned off the CB, even muted the GPS. Just the sound of the engine, my own breath, and the desert wind buffeting the cab. But something was wrong. Despite how long I'd been driving, nothing changed. The same cactus formations, the same little rock pile, even the same dead Joshua tree by the road. Over and over, like I was driving through a dam loop. I hit the brakes again, harder this time. The truck hissed and groaned as I pulled onto the sandy shoulder. I got out, flashlight in hand, and walked a few paces into the desert, trying to orient myself. I scanned the sky, clear. No sign of weather, no aircraft, not a sound except wind and the occasional creak of my cooling engine. Then I saw it. Across the road, maybe 30 yards into brush, stood an old gas station. It hadn't been there a second ago. I swear it. A beat-up Texaco sign hung from a rusted pole. The building itself looked abandoned. Windows dark, one shattered, roof sagging. But a single light flickered above the entrance, like someone had left it on just for me. I should have left, but the temperature had dropped suddenly, and something in me, some stupid, stubborn instinct, wanted to prove I wasn't losing it. So I crossed the road and stepped inside. The door creaked open on its own. Inside was dust, rot, and silence. Shelves stood half-stocked with ancient, sun-bleached snacks. A rack of postcards, all from places that didn't exist anymore. Greetings from Santa Mira. Welcome to Shale Flats. See you soon, Elk Basin. I stepped behind the counter, just to look around. That's when I saw the Polaroids. Hundreds of them, clipped to wires strung across the walls. Every photo was the same. A man or woman standing by their vehicle, parked right next to mile marker 86. Their expressions were identical, wide smiles, like they were posing for a family photo. But their eyes, jet black, every single one. I turned around and nearly screamed. A man stood there. It was the same guy from the road, the one with the flannel and the empty eyes. Only now, up close, I could see his skin wasn't just pale. It was gray, like concrete, like he hadn't had blood in his veins for years. "You're stuck," he said calmly. "They all get stuck. Doesn't matter how fast you drive." I backed away, heart thundering. What is this place? He smiled again. That same impossible stretch of skin. This is where the road ends, Travis. I hadn't told him my name. I bolted out the door. The gas station was gone. Behind me was nothing but flat desert. Ahead, my truck, engine still running. I climbed in and floored it. Still, the GPS read, mile marker 86. I didn't stop driving. Not for gas. Not for water. Not for the GPS, which had now gone completely black except for 2 words frozen on the screen. Mile marker 86. Hours passed. At least they felt like hours. I should have reached El Paso by sunrise, but the sun never came. Just more dark desert. The kind that presses in around you like you're at the bottom of the ocean. I started to see things again. Figures on the roadside, blurry, motionless. One crouched like it was fixing a tire. Another stood in the brush, waving slowly as I passed. One even ran alongside my truck for a few seconds. I caught a glimpse of its face. It was me, a distorted, pale version of myself, grinning. My fuel gauge hadn't moved. My clock hadn't either. I was stuck in a place that shouldn't exist. That's when I remembered something the man at the station said. They all get stuck. I needed proof this was real. So I did the only thing I could think of. I stopped, right in front of the mile marker 86 sign. It was even worse up close. Rusted bolts, warped metal, and beneath the numbers Faint etchings I hadn't seen before. Scratches, hundreds of them. Names, dates, messages. Don't stop. She's still out there. Mile 86 equals hell. Forgive me, Sarah. Some were fresh. One looked like it had been scratched in just hours before. It read, "Travis, turn around." That's when I heard a sound behind me, not the desert wind. Breathing. I spun around, flashlight shaking. The man in flannel was back. But this time, he wasn't alone. They came out of the dark like fog. Dozens of them. Men, women, even a child or two. All with black eyes. All with those grins. Like puppets with broken strings. I jumped back into the truck, locked the doors, and floored it again. They didn't chase me, because they didn't have to. This place doesn't run on physics. It runs on fear. The more afraid I became, the more the road stretched ahead. I could feel it growing, mile after impossible mile. At some point, I blacked out. I think, because when I opened my eyes again, I was parked in a truck stop diner just outside El Paso. Morning sunlight streamed through the windshield. My coffee was still hot in the cup holder. My GPS had reset. No mile marker 86. Just regular old coordinates. It was as if none of it had happened. I got out. The air smelled like dust and diesel. Normal. Real. I almost convinced myself it was a hallucination. Some sleep-deprived dream. Until I looked down at my arm. Scratched into the skin, thin, faint, like it had been done with nail, were 3 words. Keep driving, Travis. I've never taken Route 86 again, but I checked the map the other day. Mile marker 86? It doesn't exist. At least not anymore. There's a town in Nevada that's not on any map. Locals call it Red Hollow, but even that name feels like a lie. It doesn't appear on GPS. It doesn't show up in satellite photos. And yet, I found it. My name is Jordan Price. I'm a photographer, mostly abandoned places, urban decay, forgotten buildings. I travel the country documenting the skeletons of America. A few months ago, someone emailed me an anonymous tip with coordinates and 1 sentence. You want something real? Go to Red Hollow. I should have deleted it, but I didn't. The coordinates led me 5 hours north of Las Vegas into the desert. Just dry scrubland, old cattle fences, and sand-blasted hills. Then, just as my fuel gauge hit a quarter tank, I saw it. A hand-painted sign on 2 rotted wooden posts. Welcome to Red Hollow. Population. No buildings. No sound. Just a sign and a dirt road leading into nothing. I drove forward. A few minutes in, houses appeared. If you could call them that, they looked melted, sagging like they'd been cooked in the sun for a century. Windows covered with rotting plywood. Doors hanging by 1 hinge. I parked and stepped out, camera in hand. The silence was absolute. Even the wind avoided this place. Every photo I took came out blurry, no matter what settings I used. And the moment I crossed into the town's main street, my phone died. I walked through what looked like a downtown square, a general store, a post office, a church with its steeple broken in half, all boarded up. Then I heard the bell, a single chime, faint, from the direction of the church. I turned. The front door, which I swear had been nailed shut, was open. I stepped inside. Pews sat in crooked rows. A decaying Bible rested on the altar. Candles, fresh, white, recently burned, lined the walls. I lifted my camera. Click. Behind me, a whisper. He still lives here. I spun around. No one. But something had changed. The pews were now full. Not with people, with shadows. Human-shaped outlines in black. Facing forward, unmoving. My breath caught in my throat. I backed out slowly. heart pounding. When I hit the street, everything was darker. The sky looked bruised, like sunset had skipped right to night. I sprinted to my car, but it was gone. Not stolen. Gone, like it had never been there. That was 3 days ago. At least, I think it was. The sun hasn't risen since. I'm writing this from the second floor of the Red Hollow Hotel, or what's left of it. It's the only building in town that still has power. Faint, flickering, but enough to see by. I don't know who keeps it running. Maybe it runs itself. After the third night without daylight, I gave up trying to find the road out. I walked in every direction. Always came back to that rusted welcome sign. Sometimes it was in front of me, sometimes behind me, but always there, like the town loops on itself. I haven't eaten since I got here. I haven't felt hungry. I haven't felt anything normal. What I have felt is watched. At first, I thought it was paranoia, but then I started seeing them. The watchers, faceless figures standing at corners, in windows, behind doors left ajar. They don't move when you see them, only when you turn away. I tested it once, found one standing outside the hotel lobby. I stared at it for 10 minutes. It never moved, but when I blinked, just one blink, it was suddenly inside. They don't talk. They don't breathe. They just are. Last night, I saw something worse. I was in the basement of the hotel, looking for supplies. That's when I found a tunnel. A jagged hole torn through the stone foundation, leading deep underground. Carved by hand, or maybe by something with claws. I should have turned back. Instead, I climbed in. The walls were damp and warm. The air stank of rot and sulfur. I followed the tunnel for what felt like an hour before I heard it. A heartbeat. Not mine. Something massive. Slow, like the sound of the earth breathing. Then I saw the pit. It was as wide as a house, with something pulsing at the bottom. A living mass of sinew and bone. Eyes open along its surface, each one rolling wildly until they locked on me. It spoke without words. He is the hollow. He is the hunger. I ran. I don't remember how I got out. I just know I woke up in room 2B, bleeding from my ears and unable to scream. Now I hear him in my sleep, calling me by name. I stop sleeping. Every time I close my eyes, he pulls me closer. It's not dreams anymore. It's his memory. I see what he sees. I feel what he felt. Red Hollow wasn't always a ghost town. It used to breathe. People laughed here, married here. Children ran barefoot down dirt roads until he came. They never said his name, just the Hollow Man. He arrived without warning in the late 1800s during a thunderless storm. Folks said the sky went black and the wind turned backwards. And when it stopped, the man was standing outside the church. Tall, silent, wearing a coat that never moved in the wind. He didn't talk, but people changed after seeing him. Pastor Mercer slit his own throat during Sunday service. The mayor burned down City Hall with his family inside. One by one, the townspeople unraveled until they disappeared. Every trace of life vanished overnight, except for one child, Anna Whitlock, 10 years old, found standing alone at the altar of the church, eyes burned out, but smiling. She was the first one to say the words. The Hollow Man lives below. Feed him or be hollowed. The town was quarantined after that. Officials said it was a gas leak, but there are no gas lines in Red Hollow. The girl died the next day, buried in the cemetery behind the church. But I've seen her. She watches me from the stairs every night. Still 10, still smiling. Her mouth never closes, even when she speaks. Last night she whispered, "It's your turn, Jordan." I tried destroying my camera, smashed it against the floor, ripped out the battery, burned the film cards. It came back. I woke up this morning, and it was sitting neatly on the bed beside me. No scratches, battery full. Inside were new photos, not ones I took, photos of me, sleeping, walking, staring into the mirror, but the reflection isn't always mine. I think it's him now. He's wearing me like a mask, testing how I fit. I can feel him pushing behind my eyes. I talk to myself and don't remember saying anything. The watchers won't come in the room anymore. I don't know if that's good or not. There's a phrase etched into the hotel's front desk, hidden beneath peeling laminate. You leave by giving him someone else. I didn't want to believe it, but that's why the town still exists. Why it lures people like me, drifters, wanderers, the forgotten. It feeds through us, not just on flesh. It feeds on story, memory, attention. You document it, you give it shape, you photograph it, you give it permanence. And once enough people know, it leaves. I had a choice. Stay and fade into the shadows like the others, or bring someone else. I didn't want to. I swear to God, I didn't. But he showed me my sister, Kelsey, back home in Portland. Her eyes were black in the vision, just like Anna's. Her smile wrong. He said, I already marked her. Bring someone else, and she forgets me. So I sent the email. Same coordinates. Same line. You want something real? Go to Red Hollow. I don't know who they'll send. A YouTuber, a paranormal junkie, another idiot with a camera like me. But it'll be enough. The sun rose this morning. First time in a week. My phone buzzed once. Battery back. Signal full. I can go now. I packed my gear and stood at the edge of the road. The welcome sign faced the right way. The horizon shimmered with heat and light. Then I heard it. The church bell. Once. Twice. Then 3 times. I looked back. The watchers were all lined up on the hotel roof. Still, silent, watching the town breathe again. I drove out without stopping. 6 months later. My name is Jordan Price. I'm a photographer. A few weeks ago, I got an anonymous email. No subject, just coordinates and one line. He's not full yet. I deleted it, but it came back. Every morning. Same message. Now the coordinates are burned into my mirror. Now my sister doesn't remember my name. Now the camera won't stop recording. And I can hear the bell again. Even from here. Red Hollow is in place. It's a hunger, and I brought it home. Somewhere in the deserts of Nevada, where the wind carries more secrets than sand, there lies a forgotten road known only to few, Route 16. Drivers say if you take that road at dusk, strange things happen. People vanish, clocks freeze, and your GPS just loops in circles. Marcus Heller, a documentary filmmaker from Chicago, was chasing exactly these kinds of stories. Haunted highways, cursed towns, paranormal folklore. The darker the better. When he received an anonymous letter that read, Dustvale waits for the curious. Don't arrive after dark. With coordinates scrawled in red ink, he knew this was his next project. He drove for 2 days, fueled by coffee, static-laced radio, and growing paranoia. On the 3rd evening, the desert seemed to open up to swallow his car. The sky turned bruised purple, and dust swallowed the sun. At mile marker 237, his car sputtered and died. Standing in silence, he saw a flickering neon sign ahead. Welcome to Dustvale. Founded 1892. Population. Dustvale looked like a film set from the 1940s. Wood-paneled buildings, rusted gas pumps, and saloons that hadn't heard laughter in decades. Yet it wasn't abandoned. People walked the streets. Or rather, glided. Their movements were slow, dreamlike. Their eyes didn't blink. Their skin was pale, almost paper-thin. And no one made a sound. Marcus tried to speak to them. Hi there. I'm looking for a phone or a mechanic." A woman in a yellow dress turned toward him. Her lips moved, but her voice was just a dry breath, like wind scraping a coffin. Suddenly, a child appeared beside him. A boy, maybe 9. "Don't talk to them. They remember too much." "Who are you?" "I'm Daniel. I was like you once. New. Curious." He pointed to a motel. "You should go before the clock strikes 8. That's when Dustvale wakes up." Inside the motel, everything was perfectly preserved, dusty but untouched. Marcus noticed all the clocks were stuck at 7:59. He tried winding one. It snapped back on its own. He set up his camera, thinking this was the best footage he'd ever get. As he reviewed the recordings, he realized something. Every shot outside the motel showed people standing still, unmoving, frozen. But whenever he wasn't looking directly, they'd change positions. At 8 p.m., every light in the town went out. From the window, Marcus saw shadows rising from the ground. Not people, not quite. Elongated figures, taller than human, with heads that twisted like broken weather vanes. They patrolled the streets like sentries from another dimension. Then he heard it, ticking, not from the clocks, but from under the floorboards. Marcus pried open the floor of the motel. Beneath was a labyrinth of metal, gears, pistons, cogs, all moving in slow mechanical harmony. An entire city of clockwork under Dustvale. Daniel appeared again, pale and quiet. "The town feeds on time. Every minute you stay. It takes a minute from your life. The longer you stay, the harder it is to leave. Why are you helping me?" "Because I stayed too long. I'm only 9 on the outside, but inside, I've been here 73 years." The boy's skin began to flake like old paper. His voice slowed. "Run before..." Marcus escaped the motel, dodging the inhuman patrollers. He found a large stone building labeled Town Archive. Inside were books bound in skin, maps of places that no longer existed, and calendars that ended in the year 1901. He opened a tome titled Visitors. His name was already written there. Arrived October 12th, 2025. Departed. Someone had already recorded his fate. Then he saw the author's signature, Daniel Holloway. With growing dread, Marcus ran for the edge of town. The road he came from had vanished, replaced with desert and shifting sand. He turned his camera toward himself, trying to leave a final message, but the lens began to melt. His hands aged in seconds. He screamed, not from pain, from knowing he was already part of the town's design. Suddenly, a woman's voice whispered, "There is one way out. Give the town something it hasn't tasted in years." He turned, the woman in the yellow dress. Her eyes were bleeding. Time willingly given. Part 7. The Sacrifice. Marcus returned to the underground gears, placed his watch at the heart of the machine, and spoke. "Take what you need. Let me go." The machine groaned. Sparks flew. The town screamed. Dustvale shuddered. A door appeared in the sand. He ran. Didn't look back. Part 8. 1 second ahead. Marcus awoke on Route 16, engine running, sun rising. It had been exactly 1 second since his car died, but his beard had grown, his hands were wrinkled, and his camera, now a rusted husk, contained only one video, a shot of Dustvale. Its sign now read, "Founded 1892. Population 1,864. Last escapee Marcus Heller." He had escaped, but not untouched. Somewhere, in some other time, the clock still ticks, and it knows his name.